Hello everyone, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a flip through of my mostly completed 2023 reading journal. I will hopefully have another video up in the next week or so of my 2024 journal, showing you all the spreads I did for the beginning of the year in that one. But I thought first we should go through and take a look at my completed journal for 2023. I want to say mostly completed because there are a couple spreads that are unfinished, and we'll get to them as we go through the rest of the journal. But for the most part, this is what the final journal is going to look like. For some general information, this is a A5 size dot grid notebook from the brand Paper Age. You can get them from Amazon. They're only like $10. They also have a separate store if you don't want to use Amazon storefront, which I honestly think is a better idea. I really liked this journal. I definitely would get it again in the future. As you can see, it has a elastic strap, so I'm going to take that off so we can get into my journal. Starting off, we have a very boring cover page. And then on this page here, I did one of my vision boards for 2023. I really enjoyed making these, and I'm in the process of making another one for this coming year. All of these images are just random ones I found through Pinterest. And then the first real spread is this intro page as well as my reader's bio. This was heavily based off of a journal spread I saw from another YouTube video that I will try and link down below. And I really liked how it turned out. Definitely could have filled in more info here, but I honestly didn't know what I should write. Next page after that, I have my reading goals for 2023, as well as my series tracker. I'm definitely going to incorporate both of these pages in my setup for 2024, but I think I'm going to change the structure of them a little bit. Right after that, we get into the full log of every book I read this year. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip through all of these pages. Last year I had read 75 books, so I think I left myself with a little bit more space than that when I initially set this up. And I think the amount of space I left myself was pretty perfect because I do only think I'm going to be able to read one more book before the end of the year, which is going to go right here. I thought initially for December I'd have to add some more of this style of page later on in my journal, but I ended up making it work just with the amount of space I had laid out for myself at the beginning of the year. I think for 2024, I'm going to make enough of these journal pages in the beginning of my journal to have space for 100 books, just so I have a little bit more wiggle room for the number of books I want to read. After that, we have my reading log, which is basically a written down version of all of the books you saw previously, where I also include the author name as well as the main genre. These pages I think is a little bit redundant since I already have the images of the covers on the pages before, so I don't think I'm going to do this spread in 2024. Then we have my new releases spread. All of the books that have a heart on them next to the names is the books that I read that were new releases. I like the spread, but I definitely think I'm going to change the structure of it a little bit for my 2024 version as well. Then we have a spread that I use to track all of my videos. I'm not going to include the spread in 2024. I've just found it to be much easier for me to use a digital version to track all of this information now. Then we have my 23 books to read in 2023. I really liked how the spread turned out, and I'm definitely going to do a similar one for my 24 books to read in 2024. And of my list of 23 books, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, which I think is pretty good. It's a little over half. And some of these books I've also carried over to my list to read for next year. Then we get into the first of my monthly spreads. So this is my one for January. This is a stock image I found, I think either through Pexels or Pixabay, and I read 10 books this month. And for each of the months, I tried to write the number of books I read, the page count, or the amount of hours listened, as well as do some type of pie chart tracking a random stat. This one I did my split between nonfiction and fiction, and I also did my most popular genre, which was fantasy. And pretty much all of my spreads going forward have the same structure, where I have my main section up here that I leave blank to fill in the information for the month, as well as a section for my TBR, and then on the opposite page I do all of my books read and draw little bookshelves for them for each month. So right after this we have all of my individual book reviews for the books I read in the month. And for the books I read in January, I was printing out all of the covers for the books, as well as some of their titles, and also including the star rankings for the books in the individual reviews. I've since stopped doing that just because sometimes after the fact I will change the star rating I have for a book, and I find it's very annoying to try and find every place where I wrote the star ranking to have it be like uniform across all of the different platforms that I've rated the book at. So instead I just kind of keep the star ranking for the very beginning set of spreads where I have the covers of all of the books I've read. It's just one less thing for me to have to change in the future if I decide I want to change my rating for a book. Now we have my spread for February. As you can see, I read 7 books. And sometimes I pre-draw the bookshelves before I know how many books I'm going to read in the month. So this one, there was a couple of extra books on the side that I didn't fill in because I didn't read that many books. But I did have quite an ambitious TBR for February, and I read quite a few of them, so I'm pretty proud about that. Here is my spread for March. In March I only read 4 books, but to be honest, I'm pretty pleased with all of the books I've read, so it definitely was a quality over quantity type of month. And I really like the spread. I think it's very cute, very strong whimsical cottagecore vibes. This is my spread for the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I did this for the first 2 books because I had not read the 3rd one yet, as it was not yet out. This artwork of Evangeline and Jax is, I think, from the Indonesian cover of the book that I thought was really cute. I found it online and I ended up printing out to add to this spread. Then we have my spread for April, where I read 9 books. For April, I feel like I always end up doing some type of almost like Easter-themed spread, including a lot of like mint green and pink, which are the colors I most heavily associate with Easter, as well as doing other like kind of cutesy foresty items. Then we have my spread for May, which I quite enjoy. I really like these butterfly stickers. I got them in like a huge multi-pack. Then we have this really cute spread I did for the 4th and 5th volumes of Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation. And the stickers I used here were actually from the special edition of the 5th volume. So I have this one of Lan Ji Chen, and then this one has Lan Wan Ji and Wei Wuxian. I also incorporated a bunny washi tape because if you know, you know. Some of these spreads definitely have less decoration than I would like, ideally, for them to have. Definitely this one for Carrie Soto. I love this book, but I guess I just don't have a lot of good washi tape or stickers that really like fit the theme of the book. So there's kind of this weird blank spot down here for me to eventually decorate. Now we have my spread for June. I really like the spread as well. I like the color scheme I went for it. I really like the way that the kind of tan and yellow blends between all of the different washi tapes and stickers that I used. And I read 14 books for June, which was the most amount of books I've read in a single month, probably ever. I just was in a really, really heavy reading mood in that month. I really like this spread mostly because of how like filled in it is. For my nonfiction books, I obviously had a lot to say about them. And then I really enjoyed the spread I did for Half a Soul. I think it's very cute. Here we get to one of the only like blank to be filled in spreads in my journal. And that is for my review of the entirety of the Kingdom of the Wicked series, because I read the entirety of the series in June. And when I wrote down my thoughts for them, I did them as individual books. And I want to kind of coalesce all those reviews together so I can kind of have it flow from one book to the next more easily. And once I've edited that digitally, I will write it out in my journal. This is another case of a spread that I'm not done with. I started writing my Winter's Orbit spread, but I didn't end up finishing writing the rest of my review. And then we have an accidental blank page because I thought, I guess, I would have more books to add here. But instead, we are going to go on into my spread for July. In July, I only read 6 books. And as you can see, I have a lot of blank spaces on my bookshelf over here. I think June or July was also my first month of participating in Katie's Readings Patreon book club. So I decided to do this spread. It's kind of inspired by her like calligraphy style. And I include all of the books that I read that were part of her Patreon buddy reads. So far, I've participated in 5 of them. I did not do October or November, but I did do December, which I have to add in once I print out a photo of the book cover. And I'm definitely going to continue to be a member for Patreon in 2024, so I will definitely do a similar spread for this one in my 2024 journal. Moving into the rest of the book reviews I had for July. Now we move into August. This is probably one of my all-time favorite monthly spreads. I feel like this has a ton of my like favorite colors in it. I love the look of the dark teal with the brown and tan. And I think the butterfly stickers really tie everything together. This month I read 8 books, and I was again pretty pleased with all of my progress. I read a lot of really good books this month. I definitely need to go back and decorate my spread for Silver Under Nightfall, considering it is my favorite book. I think I left space up here to do some type of decoration. I just haven't gotten around to it. Now I have my spread for September. Another spread that I really enjoy because I love the color scheme I went for with this one. I only read 5 books, and I definitely need to fill in here some of like my general stats for this month as well. And I'm also quite a big fan of some of the spreads I have over here. Now we're into October. In this month I read 10 books, which is good. I definitely was in a big reading month for the spooky season. And I quite like the spread as well. Tried to do more like doodling and like adding smaller details with pen as opposed to just relying on stickers or washi tape, with adding all of these little bats over in the spread. Did this big spread for House of Leaves, which is pretty minimal, but at the same time I do really like it. I tried to incorporate some elements from the book by having, every time I said the word house, writing it out in blue, as well as the one time I mentioned the Minotaur, writing that in red. Now we have my spread for November. This is probably my least favorite of my monthly spreads, which is kind of sad because I usually try to make my birthday month of November be like the prettiest or like the most on brand for me. I think what really kills it is I decided to try and color in my bookshelves over here based on like the method that I read the books. So all of the yellow ones, as you can see, are physical books, and then all of the orange ones are ones that I read kind of mixed, so half while I read them physically and then half as an audiobook. And I feel like I like all of the details on the bottom. I just don't really like the color scheme I went for with my marker choice, if that makes sense. In November, I also participated in the Bloom and Readathon, which is run by Allison Pages on YouTube. I knew I wasn't going to read like every single prompt, but I did leave plenty of space for me to do more prompts here. And then for all the ones I did complete, I did add like a little sticker onto that space in the bingo board. Definitely going to participate in this readathon again next year. And I really like the way the spread looks, so I'll probably do something very similar in 2024 as well. My bookmark was put over here because I was planning on working on writing in all the information I had for King's Rising. This will be probably one of the spreads I work on next. And then we are getting into the section of my journal that is mostly unfinished. As of my recording this, I am still in the month of December, so I haven't done any kind of like final wrap-ups for how many books I read and all of my stats. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to be more than like 3 or 4 books. In December, obviously besides the holidays, I just had a lot of other life stuff come up. I ended up getting pretty badly sick for like a week and a half. Plus there's like kind of underlying health issues, if I'm being honest, that have kind of hindered my ability to read. And just also I was not super in a heavy reading mood. None of the books I was reading were like absolutely wowing me. This spread I feel like already is kind of reflecting the fact that this month is a little bit empty and not as exciting or engaging as my other months in the past have been. As you can see over here, I thought I was going to have a lot more reading for this month, so I thought I was going to need more space, but I think I'm actually going to cover this up and use this page as one of my like spaces for a book review. And then we also have a blank page over here that's going to be one of the other books I read this month, as well as this one. And then I think I'm going to read one more book before the end of the year. I've started it right now, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it before the end of the year, but if I do, it'll end up going right here. And then the rest of these pages are blank. I think probably the last spread I do in this journal will be kind of like a big yearly wrap up where I'll make pie charts kind of showing some of the different stats I have in different categories. And then at the very back of my journal, I have a couple trackers that I use for different TV shows that I've been watching. I also made this spread that I think I was going to use to track manga, but that ended up not happening. I didn't read a single manga this year, which is kind of shocking for me to say. But yes, that is my completed 2023 reading journal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you want to see more journaling content from me in the future. I definitely have a look through of my 2024 journal when I first start setting it up. But that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys as always so much for watching. Please Please consider liking this video or subscribing if you aren't already. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!